Hello! Welcome back to my channel. My name's Peyton. Let me get all situated here. Today we are going to tier rank all the books I read in 2024. I have never done this before. I did not do this last year, and I loved watching everyone else do this. Why not? I'm gonna try it. I read 97 books. That's a lot. That's the most I've read in a year probably since like high school. It's been a pretty good reading year, but I did have some duds. I had some mids. So the tier ranking will be as follows. 5 stars, loved it, is under Blew Me Away. This book blew my socks off, blew my pants off. Not that. Hold on. I gotta open my crisp apple Olipop. I'm obsessed with this. Hold on. Okay, next tier is like 4 stars, 4.5 stars. This book slapped. This slaps. 3 stars, 3.5 stars. It's fine. It's not my fave. It's fine. Or I can see why other people love this, but it just didn't work for me. 2 stars, 2.5 stars. Forgettable or just pretty bad. Didn't like this book at all. And the last star, 0 to 1 stars, is hot garbage. Just hot stinking garbage. Like, don't know how this book got published. Just wasted brain cells. Just trash. All right, well let's Okay, let's jump in. I'm going to start from, they're in order from the first book I read up until the last book I read in 2024. First book I read in 2024 was Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi. This was a pretty solid horror. I hated the ending. I really didn't like the ending, but I really liked the book. It was really good horror. I think I'm gonna put this in. It's fine, but it's not my fave. Like, I would recommend it, but it's not my fave. My other horror friends like really liked it and liked the ending, but for me it just didn't work. Then I have Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reid. This is like a light fantasy monster folklore-esque story. At the time when I immediately finished it, I gave it like 4 stars. Really liked her writing. This was my first Ava Reid. I'd never read her before. I really liked her writing. I really liked the characters. And I sat with it more. I was like, okay, maybe that was 5 stars. I really liked it. But as the year has gone on, and this was the second book I read, I don't really recall a lot of it. So I think I'm gonna... But I did remember like really enjoying my time with the book. Like sitting down and reading for like 3 hours straight because I really liked it. I think I'm gonna put this in the slaps because I do think she's a good writer. I didn't like her new release that came out last year, but I did really enjoy this. So then we have We Spread by Ian Reid. I don't really remember this one, so I think I have to put it in forgettable. I know there's like a woman who is forced to leave her apartment and she's put in this retirement home community, and the writing is very frantic and confusing, much how like she feels, but I don't think it stood out to me. I liked Foe a lot better than We Spread. Next we have Naslings. Wow, Naslings. Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. I think I need more coffee. Sorry y'all. Nestlings. This I loved, so I'm gonna put this in. It wasn't... No, I did really love it because I love Rosemary's Baby, and that was like a lot of the reference for me, and I really did like his writing. That was my second Nat Cassidy. I read Mary the year previous and loved it. One of my favorite horror writers. I have Tool by Daniel Kelman. This was my first translated fiction I read, and the only book I read from my 1001 Books to Read Before You Die list. This is about Tool, basically, who... It's set during the 30 Years' War, and it chronicles his life from like when he's like 6 or 8 up until he is an old man. And he is a character in German folklore that Daniel Kelman used him as like an avatar to tell this story during the 30 Years' War across Europe. Hands down one of the funniest books I've ever read. Like the writing is so good. I loved it. I loved my time with it. I want to read more Daniel Kelman. This almost made it in my top 10. I should have had it as like some sort of honorable mention. I'm gonna put it in Blew Me Away. Then we have Carmela by J. Sheridan LaFanu. I read this in anticipation of An Education in Malice, the one before that. I don't like this. It's about like sapphic vampires. It predates Dracula by like 30 years, 20 years. I was just bored. I didn't think it was interesting. It was a lot of whispering and obsession, and I don't know, it didn't do anything for me. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for An Education in Malice, because I think I just don't like retellings, especially if I don't like the source material, so I'm just gonna put that there. Finders Keepers. This is book 2 in the Bill Hodges trilogy. The first book being Mr. Mercedes, which I gave 5 stars. I loved Mr. Mercedes. I was really excited to get to the next one, and I didn't like it at all. I didn't like this book at all. Maybe it was second book syndrome in a series. I don't know. I didn't think it was that interesting. Holly, Gibney, and Bill don't show up until like 60-70% through the book, and I didn't care about the other story so much. I do want to finish this trilogy. After this one, I haven't been rushing to finish it. Honestly, like after reading the second one, I feel like Mr. Mercedes just should have been a standalone and that's it. That's just my opinion. I know people who really like this series, but it's more of like a crime thriller than it is a horror story. I like Stephen King a lot, but it's just, for me, it just wasn't. I think I just like his horror. It's just straight horror. Then we have Among the Living by Tim Levin. This is like an Antarctic horror, kind of similar to The Thing. The Thing Light. I'll just say that. It's The Thing Light. I'm gonna put this fine, not my fave. It's very action-packed. I was very interested throughout, and I also don't remember it, so I guess it could go in forgettable. Actually, I think I'm gonna put it in forgettable, because I don't really remember a lot of it. I know it's about these group of climate activists who who's like, I think there's one person who's a climate activist, and the other one is part of this illegal drilling science team who are trying to like go into these ice tunnels and like drill or like mess with the environment, and they unearth something that's melting in the permafrost or the ice that makes them turn into stuff. Yeah, didn't like it. Briar Book of the Dead. Couldn't even tell you what this was about. Couldn't even tell you what this was about. I know it was like some type of fantasy, but it's by A.G. Slatter. I think she'd written other books before that are set in this universe that maybe I would have been set up better for. It was just too flowery. It was just too much flower for me. This character, she's like part of this witchy family, but she doesn't have any witchy powers, and she feels very left out by her sisters who are witches, and like, even though she does more than all of them combined, but she doesn't really get any respect because she doesn't have power. Something like that. I just felt like we were like following her on side quests, and I got really bored of it. Wasn't for me. Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This is going to blow me away. It started off me reading romance. I loved it. I loved it. Loved it. I love the bisexual rep. I love their friend group. I love the bridesmaid hijinks in it. I just loved it. I loved everything about it. That'll be a reread for me. I recommend it to everyone, especially if you don't like romance. Like, I didn't think I liked romance until I read Delilah Green Doesn't Care. And I really, really like it. Small Things Like These blew me away. I love that little book. You can read it in one sitting. I know the movie just came out in December with Cillian Murphy. It's about this father in Ireland, I think in the late 80s, who his job is to deliver coal or fuel to the town he lives in, this very small town. It's set during Christmas time. And during one of his deliveries, he comes across something really shocking and upsetting, and it shakes him to his core and kind of shakes his belief system. I loved it. I loved it. It's going to be a reread for me. And Claire Keegan is such an excellent writer. I highly recommend. You can read it in one sitting. It's like 120 pages. It's so good. The Honey Witch. Emma Posen is fine. It's not my fave. I got this as an ARC, and I was so excited to read it because it sounded like so sweet and cozy and gay. It's about this woman who, it's kind of like Regency era, and she doesn't want to get married, and she just is really frustrated and bored. She's supposed to be out laying in a field under the stars, and that's her life. Her grandmother is a honey witch who she's never met before, and tells her that she is next in line to be the next honey witch, and brings her to her island or something and teaches her how to be a honey witch. There was a lot that was promised and then a lot that wasn't delivered on, and the enemies to lovers for me was very weak. So, I don't know, I wanted more from it. Yeah, it was lacking. The cover is beautiful. Yeah, I just wanted more from it. 7 Days in June, I'm putting this slaps. I really like Tia Williams' writing. I really like the story. It's about two authors who knew each other in like their senior year of high school, or they met each other, and this is set during the course of like 7 days, and how they really just fell in love, and then they were separated for because something happened, and years later, after they've both had their own successes, they reconnect over this book literary week in New York. He is like a literary darling, like literary fiction darling. She writes black vampiric romance stories that are like really famous. But you find out they've been writing basically to each other in their books in some way over all this time, and it's just sweet. I really like the romance in it. It was very believable. I really like Tia Williams' writing. I do want to pick up more of her work. And next is part of a series. It's Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I thought this was really sweet. It just wasn't my favorite. This is about a woman who deals with chronic pain, and she's basically kind of felt like she hasn't really done that much in her life, so she's trying to like make this list of to-dos and like wants to actually do them. And to do this list, she meets this redheaded biker dude. I forgot a lot about it. I remember really liking it, and it's like a sweet romance with some spice. It is very spicy. There's some spice. I do want to finish the series. This was the first book, and they're all around the sisters, the Brown sisters. Yeah, it was cute. There's a little cat in it too. It's always plus. Priory, we know where this is going. Blew my socks off. Blew me away. Queer, feminist, fantasy, epic fantasy. There's dragons. It's a lot of character development. I loved it. I didn't want to leave the world. I'm reading the prequel very soon, and she's announced there's going to be another prequel, a much shorter prequel that's coming out later this year. Cannot wait. Alright, then we have 2 manga collections. These are the Berserk. This is Berserk. This is volume 1 and volume 2. I read them back to back. They are very, very good. I loved them. I need to finish. I think I have books 1 through 7. I think there's 14 total of the collections. They're chonkers. They're very, very big. They are like grimdark, medieval inspired fantasy, following our main character Guts, who at the beginning, like, you absolutely hate him. Like, he is horrible person, not a hero to root for. And then you get to his like main arc where you meet him as a little boy, and now you understand why he is the way he is. I really liked it. I love the illustrations. It's amazing. Kentaro Moya is the author and illustrator. I read it because it inspired Elden Ring, which I love that game. Totally see it. I need to finish it. It's so good. Eyes are the best part. This slaps. I'm gonna put some this slaps. This was really good. I also got this as an arc by Monica Kim. It is about a young woman whose family is kind of blown apart by her dad having an affair, and her mom is left in shambles and is really severely depressed, and she starts dating this think of like the most obnoxious white man ever, who is misogynistic, racist, and just a horrible person. And they start dating, and he has very bright blue eyes, and our main character hates him and starts to develop a obsession with eyeballs and consuming them, and starts having dreams about them. And it's kind of like this descent into some insanity. I really liked it a lot. I liked her writing. I thought it was a really fun, fast-paced story. Then we have, this is where we talk things out. I'm gonna put this in the slaps. That was really good too. Another horror. It's like 93 pages. I referenced it in my if you like this horror movie, read this book. It's very reminiscent of like Misery. It's about this young woman who her and her mother have this very, very toxic relationship, and her mom reaches out to have this girls' weekend in this cabin, just work things out. And things go from awkward to bad to absolutely horrible. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I read it in one sitting. It's 93 pages. It packs a wallop of a punch. Butcher and Blackbird. Hot stinking gabbage. I hate this book. I should have DNF'd it. I don't really want to talk about it. It's about 2 serial killers who kill serial killers. It's really obnoxious and annoying. It wasn't a good book. Next is Silver Under Nightfall. I'm gonna put this in. This slaps. I really like this. This is like 4.5 stars. It's a vampire fantasy, kind of reminiscent of Bloodborne, the game. That's why I really liked it. There is a big romance subplot, which I didn't expect. I still really enjoyed it. It's about our main character, Remy, who is a Reaper, and Reapers are trained to kill vampires, and Remy is on the hunt for this main vampire called the Night Queen, I think, and he is working with 2 vampires to take her down. Really fun. Really fun. I thought the fight scenes were written really well. I really liked Remy as a character. Yeah, I need to read the second one. I haven't heard good things about it. It's a duology. That's kind of why I put it off, but Silver Under Nightfall was great. I loved it. The Woods All Black by Lee Mandello. I'm gonna put this in forgettable. I don't really remember what this is about. I remember I didn't like it. I think I read it for a vlog. I don't remember. Let's just move on. Eric LaRocca. This was his short story collection that The Skin Was Once Mine and Other Disturbances. I remember giving this 4 stars, and now I don't know why, because I don't remember it. I remember liking the main story, The Skin Was Once Mine, so I'm gonna put it in It's fine, not my fave, because I don't There was one story I really didn't like, and I can't really tell you. Shit. Okay, next is The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. I don't remember why I even picked this up. I think because I wanted to read more Stephen King, and this one was available at the library, so I just picked it up. It's fine, not my fave. It's about this little girl who she's on this hike with her mom and brother, and they're fighting because her parents had recently separated or gotten divorced, and the mom and brother are not getting along, and while they're arguing, she goes off the trail to go to the bathroom, and then she gets lost in these woods in this park. And it's just about her being lost for, I don't remember how long she's lost for. She starts like hallucinating, and the only thing that's really keeping her going is she has this radio where she's listening to the Red Sox game. I think Tom Gordon is one of the relief pitchers, and she really likes him, or she's obsessed with him for some reason, and it's keeping her sane, basically. It was fine. It was not my favorite Stephen King at all. It was not one of my favorite books that he's written. I don't really get it. Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This was a book club pick for me. I'm gonna put it's fine, not my fave. I think there was not enough Marcellus, the octopus. This is about an older woman who works as a janitor at the local aquarium in this very small town, and she befriends this octopus named Marcellus. And you also get chapters or one pages of Marcellus's point of view. She's dealing with a lot of the grief from losing her husband, but also her son who disappeared 20 years earlier. I feel like there was a lot of loose ends. There were a lot more characters than I expected. I thought it was mainly going to be her and the octopus, which I think would have been a better book for me. I remember closing the book, I'm like, that was a good book, but yeah, then I thought about it more, and I'm like, man, that was really not what I expected it to be. So, Next is A Magical Girl Retires by Park Leon. I'm gonna put some forgettable. I didn't actually think it was that good of a book. It was translated by Anton Her, who I know is a very well-known translator for a lot of fiction. It's kind of like a spin on, like, the magical girl, like Sailor Moon, but if they had to actually work and, like, have conferences, attend events, and it wasn't that long, and I don't think it was very good. The best part about it are the illustrations that are in it on each chapter that were really, really good. Next is Blood on the Tracks Volume 1. This is a manga. It's part of a pretty lengthy series about this mother-son relationship. I can only, like, it's berserk if it's like a big volume where I can just read and read and read, because I got it from the library and the second volume wasn't available, so I'm just like, well, now I'm left hanging. Because it leaves you on quite a cliffhanger, and I just never picked up the other, so I'm gonna put it in. It's fine. Really, it's very subtly creepy. At least the first volume was. Okay, next I have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is book 1 in I think it's called Part of Your World, the trilogy. I'm gonna put this in the slaps, because I really, really liked it. I thought it was very sweet. I was continuing my romance journey, and I think I read this for BookTuber's Best Books from 2023. That was one of the books, and yeah. I thought it was really sweet. There's a little goat in it. It's really cute. It's about this big shot doctor, or this legacy of doctors from Minneapolis, whose car breaks down South Minnesota or something like that, closer to Illinois. And this local farmer, or local man, this local guy, he pulls over to help her. They have a one-night stand. She thinks that's really just going to be it. But then they keep getting drawn back together. And it's very, very sweet. I really liked it. I liked the ending. I thought it was a very well done romance. I have Yellowface by R. Kwong. I'm gonna put this in the slaps. I really liked this a lot. I read this almost in one sitting. I could not look away from the absolute train wreck of that book. This is about our main character who is best friends with a very successful author. Our main character is also an author, just not nearly as successful. When they're having dinner one night, her successful author, I'm really bad with the names, her successful author friend drops dead in front of her because she chokes on a pancake. And the main character takes it upon herself to steal her manuscript and publish it as her own. It was just wild. It very much reads like a thriller, but it's like a literary thriller, and it's just like you just watch like this absolute train wreck of the main character just keeps making these bad decisions and keeps getting deeper and deeper into this hole. I really liked it. I want to read more R.F. Kuang this year. I have Royal Assassin. This is book 2 in the Farseer trilogy. This blew me away. I love this series. Since this is the second book, I'll talk a little bit more about the first one, Assassin's Apprentice. This is part of a very long, overarching series called Realm of the Elderlings. This is the first trilogy in that series. Robin Hobb's writing is just so beautiful and spectacular, and they're more character-driven stories. They're not so much like action, lots of fight scenes. It very much like lets you sit with the characters and Fitz and be in his head and with his thoughts and like this heavy weight he has to deal with, and also like falling in love and like all these connections he has and like the politics of it all. It's great. I loved it. Trust of the Emerald Sea. I'm gonna put this in the slaps. That was my first Brandon Sanderson, and I thought it was really great. I really did. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a swashbuckling fantasy with some romance in it. I love that that's not the main dealio in it. I love the world building in it too. It's very unique. It's very fun. It's about our main character Tress, who grows up on this island she's lived on her whole life. She loves collecting teacups. There's a bunch of moons above the planet she lives on, and the sea is nothing but spores that could kill you if they touch you. And her love gets taken away, and she sets out on an adventure to rescue him. And yeah, it was just fun. It took me a while to get into Brandon Sanderson's writing style. It's very much, how do I describe it? It kind of feels like a nerdy guy just talking to you. I'm sure Brandon Sanderson is, and that's great. It was just like there's a lot of humor in it that took me a bit to get into because I normally, it's kind of hit or miss with me. But I used to love Tress. I loved Tress and her adventure and how she develops as a character to like this very naive, never has really done anything hard or difficult in her life, and like she's on this like very demanding high stakes adventure, and how that turn her into the character she is by the end of the book. I think it's a standalone. I'm pretty sure it's a standalone. I would love to read more about Tress and the Emerald Sea. I would love it. I don't know if there's any more. I don't think there is, but it was great. Next I have Cujo. This one was fine. Not my fave. Next, but I liked it more than The Girl Who Loved Tom Gruden. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gruden. Cujo, I think everyone knows what Cujo is. It's about this rabid dog, and he traps this woman and her kid in their Pinto in the blazing summer heat, and nobody knows where they are, and nobody's around. And I forgot how much time passes. It was actually like really sad. It's a really sad book. Some of the writing it kind of gave me the ick. Like some of the descriptions of like the male characters and like their thoughts, like in some parts of the book, just gave me the ick. Isn't Cujo the one where he has no memory of writing it? I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna say it shows. Happy Place. I'm gonna put this in. Blew me away. I really loved it. I'll put it next to Delilah Green Doesn't Care. This was my first Emily Henry. I really liked it. It's very, very good. It's very emotional. It's about this couple who, you know at the beginning of the book that they've broken up, but they haven't let their friend group know, and they're invited to I think it's in Maine, summer house, because they've gone there every year for like the 10 years, and it's the last time they'll be at this house together because it's being sold. And I love the banter. I love their friend group. I love the romance. It just made my heart happy, but there's also like a lot of like very emotional parts in it that I wasn't expecting, that I thought were really well done and really well written, and it felt real to me. It didn't feel like fluff. It's a second chance romance. I didn't really think I'd like it, but I really, really did. Then we have Project Hail Mary. Man, I'm sorry y'all. I'm gonna put this in as fine. Really not my fave. Pretty sure I got some hate when I unhauled this in like my review for it. I just don't think Annie Weir is a good writer at all. His writing is like a lot of like jokes, like dad math jokes that really took me out of the story, which is a very high stakes story. The only saving grace of this book is Rocky. That's all I'm gonna say. And if you haven't read the book, you have no idea what I'm talking about. That was the only thing. That's the only reason it's fine. Or else it would be down here. I really didn't like it. I don't think he's a good writer. Grey Dog. Everyone knows where that one going. Blew me away. I'll put this, scoot you over to. Oop. Grey Dog. My favorite horror of last year. It's about a woman named Ada Bird, school marm. She gets reassigned to this little town in the woods where really no one wants to be because there's really nothing going on, but it's like her second chance because of the scandal from her first post. And then she starts hearing something calling to her in the woods. And it might be this entity or spirit or whatever called Grey Dog. And it's basically a descent into absolute madness. And there's so much rage in that book. And it's told in diary format, epistolary. I just couldn't put it down. I loved it. It's one of the best written horrors I've read in a hot minute. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I'm gonna put this in pretty bad. I'm gonna put this next to Education of Malice because they were both giant disappointments for me. And it's just pretty forgettable. It's about a woman who is a servant, but she has some magical abilities, and her employer decides to use her magic as like way to boost her and her husband's place in society by her performing like parlor tricks. But then it gets noticed by higher up officials, and she gets entered into this contest as like to be like the new champion for like the new duke or whoever. I don't fucking know. The book really didn't get going until like 60-70%, and there was like this much left of the book. So I thought it was not well paced, and the romance was not good, well written. It was a bummer. A lot of skies. What did I even rate this? This is an extreme horror. This is fine, not my fave. It's pretty brutal. I don't openly recommend this to read unless you can handle it or have some type of history with extreme horror. It's about this camping trip with, I think there's 12 6-year-olds and there's 3 adult chaperones, and you go into the book knowing none of them make it out alive. And it's so gross. It has some of the worst deaths that I have ever read. Oh my god. I just remember, like, there's one part that made me want to... Ugh. Nope, don't want to talk about it because it's gross. It wasn't my favorite extreme horror that I don't know. Do I have a favorite extreme horror? I'm sure I do. I don't think I've read a ton, but I've read enough to probably have a favorite if it's not on here somewhere. Lightfall. This is a middle grade graphic novel series that I really liked. I'm gonna put this in the slaps. And the third one's down here somewhere. There it is. I'm gonna put this all on the slaps. I think they're really good. It's about this girl named Bee, and her uncle is a pig wizard, and he wanders off one day, and she enlists the help of this Galdurian named Cal to help find him. And then it goes from there, because they're in the world they live in Urpa, the light is going out and dimming, and they are on this quest to figure out why and how to fix it. I didn't read them back to back to back, which I probably should have, because I read the first 2 back to back, and there was a large break between that and the third one. I probably just should have reread the first 2, but I still enjoyed them. I gifted the first 3 to my niece, who is like a middle grade reader, so I think she'll really like them. But I don't know if I'm going to continue it. Yeah, I'm just bad with graphic novel like collections. Unless I read them like back to back to back, I kind of forget about them. I do recommend them. They're very, very good. Bandit Queens. I'm putting this in the slaps. Put this... This was great. This was so funny. I underlined the hell out of this book because I laughed so much. This is about our main character, Geeta, who, it's set in India. Her husband disappeared, but the whole village thinks that she killed him, and she doesn't correct anyone. And now she has this reputation in the village as kind of a badass. And it helps her business, it helps her standing with the other women in the village, and they start asking her for help with their shitbag husbands, and it just goes from there. It's really funny. I really, 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 really liked it. I think the reason I didn't give it, it's not in Blow Me Away, it's not in Blew Me Away is because there's a romantic subplot, which I was like so uninterested in that. I was so there for like the female friendship and the community and like their banter. I really couldn't have cared less about the romance, but I loved it. So good. Young Mungo. It feels weird putting this in Blew Me Away or the slaps. I'm gonna put it in this Blew Me Away. It's my second Douglas Stewart. The reason I say it feels weird putting it in either of those categories is because it's so devastatingly sad. Like his other book, Shuggie Bain, like that made me just feel like I'd been hollowed out and staring at the wall for like 10 minutes after I finished it. It's about this young boy in Scotland. I want to say he's like 15, 16, and his mom, who is an alcoholic and just kind of a deadbeat, she gets like some pressure from his siblings or like others in the community that Mungo needs to man up a bit. He doesn't have, his dad's not around. And in her great wisdom sends him on this camping trip with 2 men she meets randomly, and they're going fishing and camping, and it's horrific. It's so hard to read. I love his writing and his character work so much. It just rips your heart out so much. But proceed with caution if you pick up his work, because it is hefty. I think I liked Shuggie Bain. Shuggie Bain was like my favorite book I read in 2021 or 2020. He's definitely an auto-buy author for me. Yeah, definitely proceed with caution. Then we have Appetite for Innocence by Lucinda Berry. I'm gonna put this in Forgettable or Pretty Bad. Yeah, I don't really remember a lot of it. It's like very upsetting thriller, but it's written almost like it's YA. I think it's one of her first books, if not her first published book. And the only other thing I've read by her is Saving Noah, which was also very devastating, but I think much better written. It's about this young girl who gets abducted and by this psychopath sicko and is kept in a basement with other girls. That's really all I'm gonna say. I don't think it was very well written. A lot of it made no sense. It goes back and forth in a timeline because parts of it are after she's been rescued, reintegrated into society, because I forgot how long she's a captive. It's a while. And a lot of it just didn't make any sense. And apparently Lucinda Berry has worked with Child Protective Services or like psychology, and like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't think this situation would play out this way. I don't think this would be allowed. So I was like sitting there reading it. I think it was when I was going to Japan. And I mean, I read it on the plane, but it was just like, this doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, the next few I think I read when I was in Japan, because I either read thrillers or extreme horrors when I'm traveling. Blue Jay, I'm gonna put the slaps. I really like this. The extreme horror, it's like I would describe it as Saw Light, the movies. It's about these group of friends who are really into like horror and like the dark web and stuff like that, and like trying to up each other on like who can come up with like the most appalling thing. And one of them steals an invite from this exclusive club that offers an immersive torture experience, but it turns out to be not an experience. It turns out to be real. And it's really short. I think it's like 110 pages. Like, I really liked it. It's woof. Rotten Tommy by David Sodergren. I'm also gonna put this in the slaps next to Blue Jay. This is also another extreme horror. I think I compared it to The Ring. It's like a cursed tape type of thing where this woman finds this tape and it awakens this entity called Rotten Tommy, who just, once you see the tape or play it, he comes after you. And there's some really sick kills in it. I love David Sodergren. So that's that. Black Farm, I'm gonna put this in Blew Me Away. The slaps. Maybe I'll put it in Blew Me Away, but on the end. Like, nah. I'll put this because I actually thought this was really good. Definitely like the most insane, amazing world building I've read in a horror book before. It's extreme horror. It is rough. It's about this couple at the beginning of the book commit suicide, and they are transported to this hell-like landscape where you go when you commit suicide, called the Black Farm, and they get separated, and it's Nick and Jess. He is trying to find her. That's like the whole journey and like the stuff he encounters along the way. And I really, really, really liked it. I thought it was really well written. I know there's a second book called Return to the Black Farm, and I don't know if it's the same characters or not, but anyway, highly recommend if you like extreme horror, but proceed with caution because it is rough. Exquisite Corpse, I'm putting pretty bad. I just didn't like it. By Poppy Z. Bright, and I don't remember a lot of it. I was just honestly kind of bored with it. Really bored. And like, yeah, there are some pretty horrific parts like towards the end, but I don't really remember it, so I can't really talk about it very much. And it's set in New Orleans in like the French Quarter, and it's about this like serial killer a la like Jeffrey Dahmer. Very similar to Jeffrey Dahmer, who meets someone like him, and like the last part of the book is them just being diabolical. Really wasn't for me. In the Miso Soup by Ryu Murakami, I'm gonna put this, I think I liked it more than all this. It was fine. I think the first part was really strong, and then it kind of faltered towards like the last 20%. It's set in Japan. It's about this tour guide. His occupation is mainly showing like American tourists, like the seedy side of Japan, like sex tourism, and he meets this American tourist named, I think it's Frank, and he is a piece of work, and he wants more and more and more. It just gets really weird, and like the last part is like really convoluted and like very like almost waxing poetic, which I didn't think balanced really well with the rest of the book. It was fine. Zola, oh man, let's go in hot garbage. I don't want to talk about that book. It's just gross. Studying Drowning, I really, really liked. I'm going to put this in probably next to Juniper and Thorn. I think I liked it more. I liked it more than Juniper and Thorn. It's a YA fantasy, dark academia, about these two kooky kids who travel to this dead author's estate because she won this architectural contest to redesign his home. But there's a lot of mystery surrounding the author, that there's this other student named Preston comes with her to help kind of solve this mystery. And I just really I like the setting. I like the backdrop of like this crumbling, literally crumbling mansion estate on like this stormy, rainy seaside cliff. And these two kids just like Scooby-Doo kind of just like going around and like researching. And I just really liked it. I liked it a lot. Mayflies, don't remember it. I know I didn't like it. I can't even remember. I don't know. It's about these, the beginning of the book is like set in like the 80s in Manchester, and about this group of friends who go to this music concert. And then the next part of the book is like them as adults. Read the back of the book. That's like the whole book. It's a snooze. A Good Happy Girl by Marissa Higgins. Hot garbage. This is about a unhinged attorney who likes to be in lesbian throuples when she's spiraling, or she is spiraling, and she gets in this like obsessive power dynamic with one, and it's just not good. It's not a good book. It's not well written. It doesn't go anywhere. Memorial by Brian Washington. I'm gonna put this in It's Fine. I did like it more than all this. It's Fine was my fave. And it's also like kind of forgettable. So it's about this gay couple. I don't remember their names. One is black and one is Japanese, and they're in actually a really toxic relationship. Like they've been together a long time. They both cheat on each other, and I think that like the beginning of it's like their relationship is coming towards an end. But Mike, his father is dying in Japan, so he goes over to be with him, and then the other guy is left with Mike's mom, who comes to visit. I don't know. I just didn't think they were very memorable. I didn't really like... The dialogue is like nothing. It's them going like, yeah, huh, how are you? I'm okay. It's very sparse, but like, I don't know. It was fine. I guess it wasn't not my fave. Last Night at the Telegraph Club. I'm also gonna put this in It's Fine. It's not my fave. Probably down here. This is by Marinda Lowe. It's a YA historical fiction. Like, I like the historical fiction part of it, but like I thought you were focusing on the wrong characters for some of the book, because some of the book is, sorry, let me go back. It's set in the 50s in San Francisco, and it surrounds this gay nightclub called the Telegraph Club. It is against the law to have one of those, and our main character is in high school, and she knows she's gay and starts to develop feelings for her classmate, and they go to the Telegraph Club, and she's keeping these big secrets from her parents, but it's just like it kind of just falters and it doesn't really go anywhere, and like the ending is really not satisfying. Anyway, Magic Fish. What doesn't blow me away? Oh, it's so good. I love it. It's a graphic novel about this young boy who, his parents are Vietnamese immigrants. He knows he's gay, and he's struggling to tell his parents about it because there's not a word for it in his language. So he turns to fairy tales and books that him and his mom read together every night to try and tell her. There's also a big part of the book that is his mom's story of how she came to the United States and what she had to go through to get here, and it's just really beautiful. The illustrations are beautiful, the story is beautiful, all of it's beautiful. I recommend wholeheartedly. Our Wives Under the Sea. I'm also gonna put this in Blew Me Away. This is the most unique, horrific love story that I've ever read. It's about this two women who are married, and one of them works for like this very vague agency called the Center, I think, and she's supposed to go on this diving trip in the submarine that's supposed to be like not that long, like 3 weeks, and she's gone for 6 months. And when she comes back, she is not like her wife remembers, and it's so sad and it's so devastating. There's a lot of metaphors. I really loved it. I want to read everything Julia Armfield's ever written. Changeling by Victor Laval. I'm gonna put this in the slaps. Also a very unique horror story about this man, Apollo, who him and his wife become new parents, and something changes within his wife, and she becomes more and more unstable and unhinged, and she commits this really horrific act of violence that leaves Apollo questioning everything he knew about their relationship and her. And then he finds out that his wife and son have been missing, but he he picks up a trace of them and sets out to find them in this like very Odyssey-like quest. And it's a lot of magical realism, a lot of horror. It's very, very good. Very, very well written. I want to read everything Victor LaValle's ever written because I really liked it. Yours truly, I'm gonna put this in the slaps. This made my heart happy. This is the second in Part of Your World series following the main character Alexis, who was in Part of Your World, her best friend Brianna. I like this a lot better than Part of Your World. It's following Brianna and a new doctor, Jacob, who has an anxiety disorder, and they communicate through letters at first because she doesn't want to make him anxious or uncomfortable, and there's fake dating in it. I loved it. I loved the character so much. I laughed out loud at one point in this book because it was just so good. Very, very sweet. Yeah, I loved it. As someone who suffers from anxiety, like, I very much felt seen in this book and like dealing with these very high stress situations, but also like a relationship, and even if it's a fake one, and like being around your family who stresses you out. Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I'm gonna put this in, it's fine. Not my fave, by Sangu Madonna. It's a cozy fantasy. It is a cozy fantasy. It was a little too sweet for me. Like a little too like sweet, like it hurts my cheeks. It's about this witch named Mika Moon who is hired by this group of individuals who are in charge of these 3 orphan girls who are witches, and they need someone to train them. And that's basically the whole story. There is a romance in it with a curmudgeonly, grumpy librarian named Jamie. I actually thought he was kind of a dick. I get there's grumpy sunshine and there's also just being a dick, and I thought he was a dick. I mean, yes, there's reason, there's cause that he acts like this, but I didn't enjoy their reading about their relationship. I feed her to the Beast, and the Beast is me. I'm gonna put this in. I really liked it at the time, but like the more I sat with it, the more I'm like, I think it was fine. Like, I liked parts of it, but I don't know, it was kind of predictable. It's by Jamison Shea. This is about a young black ballerina in Paris, and she keeps getting passed over for all these top roles, mainly because she's black, and there's a lot of horrible language and situations that she's put in, and she has it one night, and she decides to go down to the catacombs and make a deal with an entity to be the best and to take what is hers, and it just goes from there. I liked parts of it, but like I said, it was kind of predictable, so it was definitely a good YA novel for sure. All the Fiends of Hell. Sorry, Adam Neville, this was just such a snooze fest. This is it's a cosmic horror about this alien invasion. There's a very unremarkable, unlikable main character who is supposed to be our underdog hero, and these 2 kids who are orphaned that he comes and cares with, and them just trying to survive this landscape. I was so bored. It can be forgettable too. It's just not for me. Night Shoot by David Sodergren. I'm gonna put this in. It's fine. Like the higher end of it's fine. Not my fave. I think I've read 4 or 5 David Sodergren. This is probably my least favorite. It's about this group of university students who, in order to film their thesis, are filming in this mansion that they can only film until 8 p.m. every night, but then they get kicked out. They can't be in there past that time. So they don't finish their shoot, and their main actress quits. So they decide to sneak back in to the mansion to finish the shoot, and they regret that choice very much, and it's very horrific. Like, it's a commentary on the genre and like the especially filmmaking. Like, the director's like very misogynistic and very shitty and very gross. It was just very heavy-handed, and it kind of just didn't make it very great to read. Daphne, I'm gonna put this in the slaps because I really liked this a lot, by Josh Malerman. I read this for Summerween. I had a lot of fun with it. It was like Goosebumps for adults, or Fear Street for adults, which I guess Fear Street is technically for adults. I don't know. Anyway, it's about this high school basketball team who's haunted by this entity called Daphne. It's kind of a metaphor for anxiety. Like, if you think about her, she will come and kill you. And them just being haunted by her and how to stop her. The kills were really good. Daphne was just so horrifying, and I loved reading it. I had a blast reading this book. It was so fun. There's another Josh Malerman on this list that I did not like so much. What Feast at Night by T. Kingfisher. I'm gonna put this in as fine. Not my fave. Probably down here. This is book 2 in the Sworn Soldier series, following our main character from the first book, What Moves the Dead, Alex, and it's them going back to their home in their town, and all this weird stuff is taking place. Thing that's going around and stealing people's breath at night when they sleep, and it's I don't know. I think it was more about Alex like having not really overcome what he dealt with in the war that he was in. It got really crazy by like the last 20%, but I wish that had been more of that throughout to keep me interested. Nice Edge by Liz Karen. I'm gonna put this in the higher end of the slaps. Because I really, really maybe I'll put it in Blew Me Away. Because I really, really liked it. It's a really good horror book. This is about a mom and daughter. The mom is a vampire, and it's kind of a take on addiction, but she's a vampire, and the daughter trying to keep them like under the radar because it's illegal, and being a vampire can get you killed or sent to this place where you're basically killed. And that's like their whole life. They're very codependent on each other, and then the main character's trying to get out on her own. She's an adult and she is falling in love, and she wants to get out from the responsibility that she's had her entire life, caring for her mother. You feel as exhausted as she is by it. It was very unique. It's very good. I need to read the second book. I'll probably have to reread Night's Edge to read the second book because it has been a while, but I really liked it a lot. Days at the Murasaki Bookshop. I'm gonna put this in the slaps because it made me really happy. This is about, Days of the Murasaki Bookshop is about this young woman who finds out that her boyfriend has been dating someone else and is now engaged. And man, does that suck. So she is very depressed, she quits her job, and her distant uncle reaches out for help running his bookshop in the Jimbacho district of Japan, or Tokyo, excuse me, which is the book district. And she can live in the room above the bookshop for free as long as she helps him out. And it's basically about falling in love with reading, falling in love with books and stories, and how books can change your life. Really, really loved it. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I'm gonna put this in. This is fine, not my favorite. It was my least favorite of the 3 books in the trilogy. It's the 3rd book. Came out this year. It's about this guy who posts on Reddit that he is cursed because every time he's in a relationship and they break up, the woman goes out to find the man she's gonna marry. Female person. God, I don't even remember. I guess this could be unforgettable because I don't even remember. His name's Justin. They're all named Justin. Sorry. They decided to make this bargain to like try and break the curse in order for them each to find their true love. And it was very insta-lovey to me. I liked some parts of it. I thought it was way too long. For me, the cringiest of the books, and like the toxic mom-daughter relationship was well written, tackled very well, I thought, from Abby Jimenez, but other than that, it was not good. Where I End by Sophie White. I'm gonna put this at the higher end of the slaps. Probably here. This is one of the most horrific things I've ever read. I don't want to say too much about it, but this is about a woman who lives on this island off the coast of Ireland where everyone thinks she's cursed, and she's a caretaker for her mother who she has no feelings towards. And this new woman comes to the island for an artist residency with her new baby, and the main character becomes obsessed with her, and it's so disturbing, and that's all I'm gonna say, because go into that blind. Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen. I'm gonna put this in the slapped. Nordic inspired fantasy. Shield Maiden. Lots of action, very fast paced. I really like the romance. I like the pacing of the romance. I can't wait for book 2. Sorry, I'm just worried this is getting a little long. Funny story. I'm gonna put this up here because I'm gonna put it next to Happy Place because I liked it a little more than Happy Place. It's about our main character, Daphne and oh my god, I almost said Justin. Miles. Daphne and Miles. So it's about Daphne and Miles, who are broken up with at the beginning of the book. Their fiancés leave them for each other. Daphne doesn't have anywhere to go, so she moves in with Miles because he needs a roommate. And they start off as like kind of awkward friends, then they have like a really good friendship, and they become more than that. And I loved it. I've loved it. It made me tear up. It's so good. Assassin's Quest, I'm also gonna put in Blew Me Away. This was the conclusion of the Farseer trilogy, and it ties up a lot of loose ends from the first. Ties up a lot, and it's just so emotional. It's so emotional. Oh, so good. Lady Macbeth, I'm gonna put some hot garbage. Definitely liked it more than these, but it is not even a retelling of Macbeth. It is, I don't even know what it is, but it was not good. Little Eyes by Samantha Schweblin. I'm gonna put this in as fine. Not my fave. It's kind of about these Furby-like, Alexa-like devices that are not regulated, and each chapter, so you can either be a dweller who lives inside the Kentucky, or you can be someone who owns them. And they just basically have like a all-out window to your life. Yeah, you can imagine how dark that can get with something that's unregulated. It just, for me, it didn't go as dark as I wanted it to. Yeah, it's coming from me. Whatever. Of course, big surprise, Peyton. It's very weird. Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. I'm gonna put this in forgettable. The second book in the Bright Falls trilogy. It's kind of a spoiler for me to talk about this without spoiling the first book. It follows a character I really didn't care that much about from the first book. So I went into it not really caring, and it was just kind of dull for me. Paradise by Fernanda Melcher. I'm going to put this in the lower end of the slaps because I would not recommend this to everyone. I really enjoyed it because the writing I thought was very good, but the writing is also very, very, very upsetting. It's about these two boys, they're like 16, 17, I think, and they live in this high-end gated community. One works for the gated community, one lives there and is really privileged, the other one is not. Lots of commentary on class. Boy who works there becomes obsessed with his neighbor, and there's so much anger between the two of them about them getting what they think they're owed. It's just like this ramp up of them planning this horrific event. It's very well written. It's very short, but her writing is very unique and her style is very unique. Like, it's very dense in some places, but I really enjoyed it. I will definitely be reading more of her work. The Wedding People. Put this all the way up here and blew me away. What do I even say about this book? I loved it. I loved every part of it. I love the characters. This is about Phoebe who goes to a hotel, I think in like New England on the coast. For a very specific reason. She discovers that she is the only person at this hotel who's not a part of the wedding. She befriends the bride and kind of gets roped into all these wedding festivities, and I loved it. It's so much more than that, but I don't want to spoil a lot of it, and we're running out of time. I have to go soon. Nocticadia. I'm going to put this last because this got me out of my reading slump. Put this in right here. It's got me out of my reading slump. It's like dark academia, dark romance about this school, this college on this island off the coast of Maine that our main character goes to study this parasite that may have killed her mother, and she develops a obsession relationship with her professor, and yeah, things kind of go from there. There's a mystery, a gothic element involved too. I didn't care about the romance. I was really in it for like the mystery. Oh, it's very long. It was like 600, 700 pages. I flew through it. I was having a ball. Okay, we're almost done. Artificial Wisdom. Going all the way up here. I loved it. Loved it. Techno thriller. I got flagged for talking. I got flagged by YouTube for talking about this book because it includes climate change in the synopsis. I wasn't talking about climate change like this is gonna happen. It's part of the synopsis. Techno thriller about this reporter who discovers this from a whistleblower, discovers that this giant event that happened, this big heat wave in this part of the world that killed millions of people, and his wife was one of them, digs deeper and deeper to try and figure out whether or not it was a man-made event or not. Really, really good. The Night Guest, I'm gonna put in forgettable because I don't really remember a lot of it. It's about this woman who is exhausted and wakes up one night to find out she's walked over 40,000 steps in the night. It didn't go anywhere for me. I just wanted to go somewhere and it really didn't. I didn't like the ending. I think it would be better as a movie versus a book. My Heart is a Chainsaw. I'm gonna put this in the slaps, like the higher end of the slaps. And I'm gonna put the sequel in its fine, like the lower end of it's fine, not my fave. It's part of the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones. The first book follows our main character Jay Daniels, who is a horror obsessed, and is convinced there is a slasher going on in her hometown, and she is determined to stop it and train this final girl to confront him. Loved it. The second one, I just thought there were way too many perspectives and it really dragged for me and it was really confusing. So I didn't love the second one. I still have the third one to read. Foster by Claire Keehan. I'm gonna put this up the slaps because it's really good. It's about this little girl in Ireland who spends the summer with this couple who show her a lot of love and attention that she hasn't had, as I think she's one of 8 or 10. It's very heartwarming. It's very sweet. There's a lot of beautiful, beautiful passages. Really love that. All right, now we have A Crooked Tree by Una Mannion. I'm gonna put this in. It's fine. Not my favorite. This is about a family, a single mom who has 5 kids, and one night driving home, one of the daughters smart mouths to the mom, and she kicks her out of the car to make her walk home. The 5 miles to home, and it's almost dark, and this one choice that reverberates through the coming months because of this one decision the mom makes and how it affects every single person in the family, mainly the main character who's the older sister. There's a lot of showing and not telling, and I felt there was a lot of stuff that wasn't tied up or not explored as much as I wanted it to be. So The Shards, I'm gonna put this way up because I loved it. It's about our it's about our author, Bret Easton Ellis. It's all fiction. None of this actually happened. Set when he's a senior at a prep high school, and a serial killer around Los Angeles called the Trawler begins taunting Bret and his friends, primarily Bret. Coincides with the arrival of this new student called Robert Mallory, and Bret becomes obsessed with him. I still have not stopped thinking about this book. We have William. I'm gonna put this in the slaps. It was an AI horror about this engineer, very talented engineer, who builds this fully conscious AI who goes rogue and does horrible things. Him, his wife, and her co-workers are locked in this smart house. It really freaked me out. Instead around the house. Hot garbage. It's about the main character, 8-year-old Bella, who her and her family are haunted by this entity called Other Mommy, and she is getting really sick and tired of asking Bella, can I go inside your heart, and just ramps up her haunting and intensity. It was just boring. I didn't think the choice to have the entire book's POV be in Bella's was a good choice, and I just thought it was not really well done story, and I was just super, super bored. Here's the scores between stars. I'm gonna put this in the higher end of It's Fine, Not My Favorite. This is a sci-fi space horror novella, very similar to Alien, but with a twist that I didn't see coming. It was really entertaining. It's very action-packed. Rest Stop. I'm gonna put this again in the higher of It's Fine. It's Not My Fave. Yeah, I think I like that more than Night Shoot. I'm gonna put this a little lower down. Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. The more I sat with it, the more I was like, this is kind of mid. I gave it 4 stars, but it's not my favorite Nat Cassidy. It's a novella about this guy who gets stuck in this rest stop bathroom, and he's basically being tormented from things stuck with him inside the restroom and things on the other side. Yeah, I don't know. There's parts of it like that I thought were really good, and there's other parts where I was like, I don't understand this. And I thought the ending was a little kind of disappointing, which I hate saying because I really like his other work a lot. Between Two Fires. I'll put this all the way up here. This is a rough one. This is a epic horror fantasy set during the Black Plague. It follows this disgraced knight who comes across this orphaned teenage girl who says she can see angels and she can stop the upcoming apocalypse. If he can help her get to Avignon, France, and all these horrors that are descending upon the world. And man, it's so good. It's very disturbing in quite a few places. Really good horror, really good fantasy. I love books set in the medieval time period. I love medieval type fantasy. That's why Berserk is on here too. Proceed with caution, but I loved it. All right, we're almost done. Mooncakes. I'm gonna put this in the slaps because I really, really liked it. It's a graphic novel about this witch and her childhood best friend who is part werewolf who comes back into town, and they're trying to break this curse that is on Tam, but also that's living, part of it is living in the woods surrounding the town, and there's a lot of magic, and it's very gay, and it's very cozy and sweet, and I loved it. Voices in the Snow, Heart Gabbage by Darcy Coates. I hated this book. I couldn't tell you what time period this took place in. It's about this woman who crashes her car on the way to her aunt's house during like this world-ending event, and she's rescued by this random guy. They're stuck in his mansion. And he's stuck in this mansion and the snow is like nonstop, not coming down, but there's also other stuff that's haunting them. It's more of a romance than it was a horror, and it was not a good romance. Hamnet, I'm gonna put this on the lower end of Blew Me Away. It's like 4.5 stars. The more I've sat with it, the more I loved it. This is about a young penniless writer, who you can only guess who that is, him and his wife Agnes and their kids. Primarily they're twins. And you know at the beginning of the book that Hamnet does die. And this is such a portrait of their marriage and grief, and it's so beautiful. And it took me a minute to get into, but by the end I was like tearing up and it punched me in the gut. Empire of the Vampire and Empire of the Damned, I'm just gonna put in Blew Me Away. I liked Empire of the Damned more. Put this over here. This is a vampire fantasy set in a world where vampires are taken over, and our main character Gabrielle de Leon is a silver saint who is tasked with destroying vampires at all costs. There may be a way to stop vampires, but the details of that and location of that are only known to this rapscallion teenager called Dior LaChance, and they go on this quest to find it, and there's all this other stuff that happens that I don't want to spoil, and I'm running out of time. Snow by Ronald Malfi. Hot, stinking garbage. What even was that? What even was that book? This is about a guy who's traveling home for Christmas, and his flight gets canceled, and so he decides to drive with a bunch of other people, and they get stuck outside this town that there's something in the snow that has taken over this town, and it gets really weird really fast, and the romance in this was stupid and took me out of the story, and it just got dumber and dumber and dumber. That's all I'm gonna say. The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. I'm gonna put this in as fine, not my fave. This is about two authors who get stuck together. This is about these two crime authors who get put together to go visit this very well-known crime author, and she disappears, and they have to work together to find out the mystery and what's going on. I had fun with this. I like the first part a lot better than the second part. I think it kind of lost some steam for me, but that's it. It's my tier ranking. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's my first time doing this, so yeah, I hope you really liked it. What did you think of my tier ranking? What do you think of my choices? Were you surprised by any? Were you not? Thank you so much for clicking. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll have a new video for you soon. Bye!